Hey there, Julia here. Today, I feel like we are already in this 30 inks, 30 days rhythm, so hopefully you know what's happening this week. If this is your first 30 inks, 30 days, highly suggest going back and getting caught up. But today, we are going to just take a quick look at the week 3 pen and ink pairings, pick a winner, pick new prompts, do it all over again for week 4. I'm glad you're having so much fun with these videos because I am having a lot of fun with the prompts and doing like a weekly currently inked thing. What am I gonna do when this is over and I'm probably going back to a lineup for a month? I mean, I don't have to, but also cleaning pens every week is also not a good time. So, per usual, I just woke up, so excuse the raspiness, I guess. So week 3, we had for pens makers only. So it was a battle of the makers. And for the inks, they were inks that have never been fully inked up in a pen. I do want to say that my prediction last week about feeling good about everything, knowing that this was going to be a hard decision, it held true. All of these were great pen and ink pairs. And so all of the scores are pretty high. This may have been like my favorite week of pen and ink pairs, like most consistent ever. So let's just talk about the scores, and I feel like I have nothing bad to say about anything. So first up, we had the Mayfair pens Noldor model with the cotton candy abalone inked up with Teranishi Innocent Mauve. The ink in this case is just gorgeous. I love this ink. It flowed so well, very subtle shading, so right up my alley. My only criticism maybe with the pen is that the little section shape, just that kind of deep curve. I was just unsure where to put my hands, but I pretty much figured it out, and it wasn't at all a terrible experience. So for the pen, I gave it a 3.5, the ink a 4, the total a 7.5. Moving on to the Skogsy low volume eyedropper inked with Ferris Wheel Press Festival Grove. It was near perfection. I just have to say that it was near perfection. The ink was such a good match. Again, love the subtle shading here. Everything's super legible. I'm just really surprised I have not inked this ink in anything before because I really enjoyed this. And of course, the pen was just so fun to see the ink like sloshing around and seeing the shimmer in there as well. It's a beautiful pen. It's a beautiful ink. So I gave the pen a 5. I gave the ink a 4. It has a 9. Look at this page. So let's move on up here to the White Bear pens Ursa model with the mermaid like resin. And it was inked up with Diamine Mint Twist. Again, another one that was perfection. The pen super comfortable, really light, and I really enjoyed picking it up. Again, I was not expecting to like this ink as much as I did just for everyday writing. It's nice and dark, but also fun. Nice shading, a little bit of shimmer, but not too overpowering. No issues on flow, anything like that. This was a medium nib, and it was also nearly perfection. I gave the pen a 5. I gave the ink a 4.5. So this combination was a 9.5. Then we'll move down here to the Artisan ink pens, bespoke fountain pen in that beautiful teal shimmer colorway, and this was inked up with the Colorverse Blue Green Snake. Once I got the whole converter situation figured out, we were so good to go with that pen. This one had the journaler nib on it, and it was super enjoyable, super comfortable. The grip section on that pen just fits so nicely in my hand, and it had like a little curve upward, and so it felt like it was cradling my grip, as cheesy as that sounds. So for this one, I gave the pen a 4.5. I gave the ink a 3.5. It was a little smudgy, a little too wet for that pen possibly, and so we have an 8 for this combination. Moving on to the Zodiac pens Virgo model with the Conversation Hearts colorway, inked up with Tono and Lim's Chocolate Cosmos. What a weird ink. When I swatched it, and even here, it's so much lighter than what it is in writing, but I didn't really hate that, and even more so on the Tomoe River paper. It seemed to match the pen a little bit more visually, being a bit darker than the swatch. So I'm just saying that you cannot judge this particular ink by the swatch. And I feel like it might be fun to do a paper exploration. I've been doing those over on Instagram here and there, but doing a paper exploration for this ink just because it's seemingly different on different papers. So very interesting. The pen, always a champ whenever I used it, really comfortable. Appreciate that it posts deep, and it was just fantastic. So the pen I gave a 4.5, the ink I gave a 3.5, so we have another 8 here. And then finally we have the Bone Crusher 7 Studios Velma model in the Sumi-E color, and that was inked up with Wearing Gold, the Star Child, and I'm just even mesmerized with how this looks even now. I love that little unexpected lavender shimmer there that I just got all over my finger. Cool. But I already know that I really enjoy the Velma model. It's beefy, it's comfortable. I really have no complaints. The ink was really nice as well. I know with a finer nib I won't get some of that shimmer and just coolness in the writing, but we do have some interesting shading, and it was a nice contrast to some of these darker colors. So I really have no complaints there. So I gave the pen a 4, I gave the ink a 4, and so we're sitting at an 8 for this one as well. Lots of 8s, lots of ties with this cohort of pen and inks. So that means that the favorite of the bunch for this week is the White Bear Pens Ursa model in the Mermaid with Diamine Mint Twist. So that pairing moves on to be in the running to be the month's favorite pen and ink pairing. So with that, let's move on to week 4. We have our trusty buckets. One for pens, one for inks. Let's go pens. Interesting nibs. Oh boy. So that's flex nibs, that's hooded nibs, that's inlaid nibs, that's custom grinds. That's what we're doing for the pens. For the inks. Okay. Some of them are stuck together, so I'm trying to get it together. Bottles only. Okay, so that just means that samples are out of the running for this week. So interesting nibs with bottled ink only. I will get to it, pick 6 new pen and ink combinations, and we'll be right back and we'll do some swatching and chat through what I came up with. Okay, I'm back and I have 6 pens and inks that fit the prompt. For pens, they all have interesting nibs of some sort, and they are inked up with bottles only. Actually, the first pen that I thought of whenever interesting nibs came out, it is the Waterman Corinne in the marine amber color. And here is the interesting nib. It has an inlaid nib. So pretty. So I have this inked up with Pelican Brilliant Brown. I feel like the vibe for everything I picked is very sophisticated and just a little bit opposite of what happened last week. Not that maker pens aren't sophisticated or anything, that's not the case at all, but you know, last week we were very colorful and swirly and it was a good time. So I like to have a little bit of contrast back and forth with that. This is such a lovely warm brown, like an orangey brown almost. One of my favorite pairs with this pen has been Conklin Rich Mahogany, which is like a deeper brown. So I'm always excited to try something new inked up in pens just to see how it fares. Ooh, let's get our blotter paper. This is gorgeous. Such a comfortable pen, a smooth writer. It does have a stiffer nib, but it's really nice. Okay, the next pen is really special, like super special to me. So much so that although I have it inked up with this prompt, I will not be scoring it, and it cannot be in the running for the favorite for the week or for the month, just because it would be way too biasy. But it is my wedding pen by Papa J Studios. I do have a whole video on this pen that I'll leave linked up here for you, but all of these little pieces inside of the pen are from my actual wedding bouquet, and it is really special to me. The nib on this, however, is interesting for two reasons. One, it has a really fun grind on it. One of my favorite grinds by Kirk Spear. It's called the Imperial Grind. I've talked about it a lot, but also it has a custom engraving on it. This is actually our wedding logo, which I also have tattooed on my arm. So yeah, super special nib and grind, and visually super special pen. There's actually two different caps that come with it, so I can swap it out whether I want a demonstrator cap or this matching cap. So we went with the matching cap for this, but I have it inked up with Amarillo Stationery's teal waistband, which is a little lighter than I typically go with this. I usually have this inked up with Sailor Shikiori Komakusa or something like that. It's a little darker teal, but I recently uninked it just to give it a break, I guess. And so I thought this was a good time to pull it back out and use it sort of in the main rotation. And then for the Imperial Grind, the writing side is like a cursive smooth italic, so you have thicker downstrokes than your cross strokes here. But on the reverse side, you kind of have a thicker, almost monoline, broader line, which is really fun to just be able to flip the nib around and have a different writing experience. The next pen that I chose was mostly for the grind that's on it. I haven't used it in quite a while. I've been missing it. It is a sleeper in my collection. And the ink that I picked is pretty interesting as well, but this is the Diplomat Excellence A2. Look at how cool the little facets are on this, and then the little ink drop on the clip. The clip's super springy. Love the rubber grip, but this has the Sansakusen. I'm probably saying that super wrong, but it is a grind by CY, and it mimics the Naginata Togi grind. So really cool, definitely up there with one of my favorite grinds along with the Imperial nib. The ink that I have in this is a vintage ink that I was gifted at a pen and planner meetup here locally, but it's an Omos ink. And I think I was doing some research on it and I could not find the ink online. I did find someone selling the pen that was in the same collection, but it's Amerigo Vespucci, voyage of some sort, you know, Italian. It used to be back in the day, 1095, which is crazy. But this ink is from the 90s. So, I mean, vintage. Oh, whoop. Of course, I will go take care of that at some point after the swatch. But as you can see from my fingers, it is a red ink that dries down. I don't know, it's like a very interesting in writing, like a fuchsia. I don't know how to describe this one. Kind of a purpley orange, like a secondary type of red. I don't know, but I do enjoy the color. It doesn't feel, I know the camera is a little brighter color-wise picking this up, but I do like that it's not grade your paper red. And I'm sure this has some remnants of another ink happening in here, so it's definitely more orange in writing right now. And the thing about the Sansa-Kusen grind, your angle kind of dictates how thin or thick your line is. So I can come up here and have some thinner lines, or I can be a little lazy about it and lay back a little bit and get some different line variation. That D is a completely different color. Okay, the next pen is from 1982. And it definitely has a very knife-like, interesting nib. This is the Parker 50 Falcon. It is missing a clip, but from what I understand, that is par for the course. It was a very delicate, thin clip. And so a lot of these that you find, you probably will not have the clip, or the clip will break soon after you acquire it, unless you're just like not using it, I'm sure. But this is such a beautiful pen. It's so dainty and delicate, and I love the color. It's like a purpley brown, and then of course the nib is like an integrated type of nib. It's gorgeous. So I decided to ink this up with Birmingham Pen Company's Nocturnal Lavender. Which I am pretty sure I had this inked up not too long ago this year in a currently inked, but so what? And I just wanted to put it in a different pen because that is what this month is all about, just trying out different pen and ink combinations and hopefully finding some winners. And with this one being a vintage, not vintage pen, I didn't want to do anything super crazy as far as shimmer or sheen or any pigmented inks. So I just wanted something nice and standard, reliable, and Birmingham Pen Company has a lot of inks that kind of fit the bill there. Okay, see, this is looking like the right color now. As it was going down, it looked super orange. Y'all saw that, right? Okay, so this is Parker 50 Falcon. This colorway is called Brown TX. The flow is really nice here. And I think it has a fine nib. It might be extra fine. I'm going with fine though. There's no markings on here, and I haven't done too much research on this pen. So yeah, I mean, it's not a match. It's a compliment. Maybe in the writing a little more. In the writing, you can kind of see how this kind of matches up. The next pen is a recent acquisition, definitely has an interesting nib. Super excited to have this one in my collection. This is the Leonardo Momento Zero in the horn colorway, and I got this at the Chicago Pen Show working with Les from Stilo Suite. And ooh, I love that little brown section there, but I've shown it before. This is the modified extra fine X-Wing harpoon nib, and so you can see the cuts in the Leonardo nib there. And there's also a slit going, this is the breather hole here. There's a slit going down as well. And then you can see the little wings on the side. Really gorgeous. So I'll show you what this is all about here in a sec. But I have this inked up with Kobe City Museum Gray. And if I remember correctly, I grabbed this at Stationery Fest last summer. So it is a very brown gray, antique looking. I know I used antique a lot last week, but this also kind of has that same quality to the ink, the color anyways. And same thing here, this may have some residual ink in it, but I was trying to match up to this section here that I like so much, where it's like this brown gray mixture happening. I think it's pretty spot on. But yeah, like I said, may have some residual something else in here. And I'm gonna just be writing with no pressure at first, just so you can see how great this is at just everyday writing and also the flex. So let's add in a little bit of flex here. Amazing. Just to have both qualities of this nib without really, I just feel like I don't have to sacrifice my regular writing, but I can still get that flex. It reminds me a lot of the Tombow Fudenosuke that I really love, one of my favorite pens, but in a fountain pen form. So this is going to be lots of fun to play with this week and just get a little more familiar with the nib. Okay, the next pen I really love. It was one of my Grail pens, and I was super excited to get this near the end of last year. This is the Pilot MYU 701. Look at this beauty. Of course, I don't need to say much at why this has an interesting nib. It's built right into the pen. It's gorgeous. So this was possibly produced with the first run of these pens, which was in 1971. But I just love how this has a very futuristic feel even today. Last time I had this inked up with a gray. I think it was Waringal, the picture of Dorian Gray, and with this being a fine nib, that ink was not the best match. I thought that ink was a little dry coming out of this nib. So this time around, I didn't really care that much about the color. I just knew I wanted something a little more wet. And so I ended up going with Old Classic, Old Faithful, Diamine Ancient Copper. And at least in my experience, this has been a pretty wet, well-flowing ink. So I just wanted to give it a try in this finer nib, which also was recently-ish tuned by Annabelle. The previous owner had gotten the nib tuned. Yeah, already it's seeming like this is a better flow, is a better fit than the last time I had this pen inked up. Wow, yeah, most of this is already dry, but while it finishes up here, I'm going to update the grid, which is filling up rather quickly. So first up, we have Pelican Brilliant Brown. Amarillo Stationery Teal Waistband. Omas Americo Vespucci, which I got more on my hands because apparently I can't close an ink bottle. Birmingham Pen Company Nocturnal Lavender. Kobe City Museum Gray. And Diamine Ancient Copper. Okay, here is our grid all dried down. A little sad that we have 1 week left. 1 week left. But let's take a look at where we are here. I'm sure this is all dried down as well. Nope. Ancient Copper taking its time. That is fine. So just a fun recap. We have the Waterman Corinne with a fun inlaid nib, and this is inked up with Pelican Brilliant Brown. We have my wedding pen by Papa J Studio. This has an imperial nib on it, engraved with our wedding logo. And this has Amarillo Stationery's teal waistband inked in there. Next, I have the Diplomat Excellence A2 with the Sansakusen grind on it by CY. And this has Omas Americo Vespucci in there. We have the Parker 50 Falcon in the brown TX colorway with that really nice integrated nib. And this is inked up with Birmingham Pen Company's Nocturnal Lavender. Leonardo Momento Zero in the horn color. This has an extra fine X-Wing harpoon nib installed in here. The ink is Kobe's City Museum Gray. And then we have the Pilot MYU 701 with a fine nib that is integrated into the pen. And in there I have Diamine Ancient Copper. So yeah, this should be a fun week of pen and inks. I feel like this is a very different color palette than what's been happening this month so far. Even looking at the grid, it does have a different vibe as some of these other ones, but I'm very excited about them. I mean, there are some classic pens in here, a few vintage ones as well, and so excited to dive in. Let me know your prediction for this week's favorite down in the comments. Let me know about any interesting nibs that you have down there as well. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the final 30 inks, 30 days video next week. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one.